Hello everybody, welcome along to another edition of Trwb Ball. And I suppose, look, it's the usual mixture this weekend. We have GA ladies football, Camogie, soccer, rugby, golf, and probably American football for the last time. The start though will begin obviously with Gaelic games, and it's the second round of the Alliance Hurling League. I suppose the point to be made about this particular league, the Division 1A and Division 1B or Group A or Group B, all the big counties are in there. But I would even go so far as to say that it's probably no more than a series of challenge games, because at the end of the day there is no uh, reason, there's no relegation as such. You might say, hold on a minute, there is relegation. But like they have the counties that are going to be, and there's only one county going to be relegated from 12, and you can take it, it's going to be Laois, Offaly, or possibly Antrim. So none of the big ones go down. If you contrast that with football, the four divisions are seriously competitive. There's serious promotion. Two teams go down, except obviously in Division 4. So, but anyway, that doesn't take from the fact, I suppose, look, that they are important games, but they're nothing more than preparations for the championship. And, you know, I think that probably takes a little bit from it, but that's for other people to make proper judgment on. Anyway, Cork, after their big win over Clare last week, and you know, it was a rather one-sided game, outstanding performances from so many Cork players, and most of the other players that were there last year, you know, Kieran Joy, he has come into the side, and from Castlemartyr made a big impression as well, he did. So they take on Offaly and Bor, and it's interesting, the matches played in Bor, there must be some battle going on up there in the faithful county as regards county ground. I thought would be Young Park, O'Connor Park and Tullamore, but ends Bor on Sunday at 2 o'clock. Expect Cork to get over Offaly to be a major disappointment if they didn't. And where Cork stand in all of this, like, is, you know, it appears, despite the fact that Limerick were beaten last week, that Limerick are out there, but Cork are out there with the best of the rest. Can you tell me any other county that's marginally or even much better than I might say? No. Football, though, nothing on this weekend, but it's a completely different story. And after two opening rounds, it's quite obvious now that Cork's main objective is to try and stay in Division 2. We'll be talking about them next weekend. They travel to Derry on Sunday week, and that's going to be, you know, a massive challenge. I think Galway come into Cork, but not stop. I could depress you. It was announced after the game last week against Clare that Mark Collins won't be playing with the Cork footballers this season. I'm not too sure whether Mark would ever play or not. He's 31 years of age now, but I think it's important that we kind of acknowledge the contribution that Mark Collins has made to Cork football over the past 10 years. At times he was a bit like an oasis in the desert. He was the light that kept some of us believing. He was Cork's main player. And, you know, like sometimes when a county goes through a bad period, there are players that carry these teams, and maybe they get lost in translation or whatever, but I think it's important to acknowledge, and as well as he being a outstanding individual, he was a top-class footballer, and he gave an incredible service, I would suggest, to Cork over the league period that was the past 10 years. Nothing but, he may not be retired at all, and if he's not, better again. So moving on then, this weekend is a big weekend in terms of schools football in Munster, with Munster finals playing, whereas we'd love if Cork were involved in the Cornifery. That's not to be the case. The two Kerry schools fight that out on Sunday, Brendan's and Trwb CBS. But we have two Cork schools taking part in Munster finals on Friday night in Mount Collins, of all places. Beara Community School play the D final against Salesian College from Pallaskenry. No, why it's there, I'm not too sure, but obviously sometimes these matches can be arranged to suit the needs of the school, and maybe there's a player going away, I'm not sure, but you know, the Castledown Bear team and the Castledown Bear, the Beara people will have to travel. It's, I think, 2 hours and 25 minutes from Castledown Bear to Mount Collins, whereas from Pallaskenry to, they're only 40 minutes up the road. But regardless, it's going to be a big night for those young players, as it is for any team that ever plays a schools match. you know, there's only a certain period of time that you can play with your school, and those memories stay with people forever. And I know some media books tend to, we talk about the main competition, the Hartley Cup and the Camogie, but the schools that play in the D, in the B, like in all of those, they're at their level, and victories there are just so important for the promotion of Gaelic games in the area, but for the school as well. And then on Saturday at 12:30 in Mallow, the Munster B final takes place between Mount St. Michael's Secondary School in Roscarbery in West Cork, and that school would draw players, you know, small school that from Carbery Range, the local club, Kilmackabee over the road. I'd imagine Castlehaven and Clonakilty and maybe Tide McCorrick might have a player involved. I'm not too sure of all the makeup of that team, but they take on ABCBS there. School for Tipperary, better known because of the fact that John Kiley, the Limerick coach, is their principal. So that'll be an interesting one, and it would be great if those two Cork schools were to emerge victorious in that one. And Tuesday night after the Cork County Board meeting, where the groupings were formulated for the 9 County Board Championships for 2022, my God, the amount of people that live in this bubble that met on Wednesday or spoke to them or whatever, and then, you know, the reaction was, we can't wait for this to start. And like, that's incredible that these championships have given rise to that kind of interest. And there are, I think it's 28 groups altogether in the 9 championships. And in each of those groups there are 4 teams, each getting 3 matches. 2 of them would qualify, 1 will stay where they are, and 1 of them could be possibly fighting relegation. So there's nearly, you could say there's nearly 28 championships altogether. And when they start on the 24th of July, right through August and September, they will hopefully greatly entertain us. And we're not going to go through each one of them. In time we probably will, but there was one group that really caught the imagination. That was the Premier Scene of football, and some people was, you know, called, they viewed this term group that I'd say to the group of incredible life. And that's the group made up of Clonakilty, Castlehaven, Nemo Rangers and Noosastown. Now, Noosastown folks, if you could tune out there for a second, talking to somebody yesterday, and they said, well, Noosastown won't qualify. But he quickly followed up by saying, they'll probably decide who will. And you can read into that what you will. So yeah, it's look, I think there's no doubt in my mind, the Cork County Championships. I'm not talking about the standards, but the competitive nature and the structure of it, and the way it is timed and dated, I would say it would be very hard to beat it from any other part of Ireland. This weekend, the ladies football Lidl National League recommences, and I suppose first of all that, you know, the Lidl sponsorship which has been extended has been transformative in the promotion and development of ladies football in the country. And whereas the books, they are substantial, but sometimes it's what a company can bring to promotion is far more important than the money. Like, you know, some promotion deals, they just simply sign the check. Other companies work actively with the bodies themselves, and Lidl have been really good for ladies football. I would imagine the opposite is the case, of course. And I think now with, you know, the way that you saw Leona Maguire last week, the Cavan golfer, who played a bit of ladies football by the way as well, the ladies sports are increasing, their profile is increasing considerably. And okay, there's huge distances to travel, I'm not saying that, but I think more and more companies will want to get involved with ladies sports for, you know, for many reasons. And we had the Galway Camogie team signing a deal up there, moving away from Supermax, and I think there might be possible the Cork Camogie might be doing likewise. But anyway, the league starts this weekend, and Cork travelled to Navan, to Port Touchon and Saturday to play Meath. And I suppose some of you will remember the last time Cork and Meath met, it was the All-Ireland semi-final. Cork 7 points up, 2 minutes remaining, and one collapse. And Meath then went on to win the All-Ireland when Dublin were going for the drive for 5. So and And this is not going to be a crunch game, by the way, because Cork are going to be missing players. The more Abbey girls have been given some time to recuperate, and rightly so. But they welcome new players into the squad. Derek Nairi from the Lish School Club, Fahan from Kinsale, and Rachel Beakey, whose sister is also involved from Ada. And then players that were out last year because of injury, maybe taking some time off. Among those coming back into the side, Laura O'Mahony from Skibbereen, she'll be in the team, probably right half back. Marie Ambrose recovering from a Trwb operation, probably will get back into a defensive zone. You've Emma Spillane from Bantry returning, and so too Chloe Collins from Drumclog. So it's nice that, like we've in this county, a big following for ladies football, huge interest in it. So yeah, we wish them well in their opening round. The Camogie, their National League won't begin, I think, until next weekend. Sorry, it has begun, but Cork won't be playing until next weekend. But the Cork minor Camogie team that had a great win last week against Galway, inspired by Fiona Toohey scoring exploits, they will play their second game on this Saturday in Castle Road against the Dubs. So yeah, that I think that you follow the growth of Gaelic games and can only go in one direction. But I won't say can only go in one direction, but hopefully go in the right direction. What's on this weekend as well, of course, is the All-Ireland Club semi-finals, and they're on Saturday in Croke Park. And for the clubs involved, I don't have to tell you what it means, but the senior hurling between Ballygunner, who've never won this championship, and Ballyhale Shamrocks, who are going for 3 in a row and will be the first club in Ireland to achieve that particular accolade. And for those who've been following this fully, Ballyhale have been somewhat fortunate in their matches in the Leinster Championship, coming behind, I think, against St. Ryan's, and in the semi-final, the last day, against St. Thomas's, TJ reads the penalty and then that incredible goal from a free. Can they survive with this late coming again when they play a really top-class Ballygunner team, as I said, who've never won it? So that's going to be a really interesting match, and I would imagine we'll have a large viewing. It's been televised on Saturday. And then the other game that we have is the football equivalent goes on at 5 o'clock between Kilcoo from County Down, the team that defeated St. Finbarrs, and they take on Kilmacud Crokes. And I think the absence of Paul Mannion, and I presume he will be absent, could be decisive here. Kilmacud have proved that they're a really good side, and sometimes if you watch them on television, I've seen 1 or 2 of their matches, they can be a little bit frustrating to watch, but I don't know whether it was just in the flesh the last day, but they really play well against the Bars, and they're so athletic, they're such a system, and I found them enjoyable to watch, and I think they are going to be crowned the All-Ireland champions on Saturday evening. After the movie on the soccer, and after the winter break, if you wish, the Premier League is back in action. We had games last night and some over the weekend, tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, a lot of games will take place, and of course it is moving towards the business end, if you wish. Tonight Liverpool welcome back some of their players that were on duty in the African Cup of Nations. Not all of them will be back, but they take on Leicester, crucial game, and Liverpool, by the way, for those of you, large number of you who support them, they're still involved in 4 competitions. And can they win 4? Well, I'm not too sure. Can they catch up? 10 points behind league leaders Manchester City. I think they have 2 games in hand. They take on Leicester City. Arsenal in 6th place take on Wolves. On Saturday, they win Manchester United after, what would you call it? Bit of a collapse against Burnley, who bottomed down at the bottom. They drew 1-1 with them, I think, on Monday night. They take on Southampton. And of course, Southampton, who had a great win last night, coming from 2-1 down against Spurs. My God, Spurs fans must be absolutely so annoyed about that. So Southampton will provide a lot of opposition for Man United. Everton, who with their new manager got a real chastening experience, or had a chastening experience last night against the Money Boys from Newcastle, defeated 3-1. They take on Leeds, and Leeds, the team, there's a lot of youth support, but have been, I suppose, dogged by injuries this season. but they had a great draw last night with Aston Villa. 3-all came. I think they got 2 late goals in that one. And also on Saturday, Manchester City would be expected to defeat Norwich and confine the Canaries, I think they're called, to further relegation woes. Then on Sunday, Liverpool are back in action again against Burnley. Newcastle take on Aston Villa. So again, the performance of Newcastle, they bought a serious number of players during the transfer window, so it's expected that they will climb up the table. Spurs will take on Wolves, and West Ham take on Leicester. Now West Ham are in real trouble with this fella Zuma, the guy that he was caught dropping, slapping and kicking his cat. And I don't know what possessed some of these guys to do these things. But anyway, when he was played on Monday night, I think it was against Watford, there was a serious backlash in social media. And what happens now when, anything happens in an organisation, when the sponsors start pulling the plug, you're in trouble. And already there were 2 sponsors after ceasing their relationship with West Ham, who were having a really outstanding league with a good manager, and this has been a disaster, nothing short of a PR disaster, and of course not a mind and animal rights issue. So isn't it amazing how a little, I won't, but be careful, it's not little, but how inactive, stupidly, I don't know what possessed it. But anyway, that's West Ham in a little bit of trouble. Rugby and this most entertaining Six Nations, which began last week for Ireland with a great win over Wales, 29-7 I think it ended, and it was a bonus point win as well. They nearly kept them scoreless, and we spoke about that last weekend, like Ireland are so far ahead, I think, of Wales, and I know there are people out there saying, oh my God, don't be promoting that Ireland look until they win a quarter final of the World Cup. But I think that's kind of ridiculous, if you wish. We're talking about now when Andy Farrell's team, when they take on, they go to Paris this weekend, and France had a good win as well. Well, not as impressive as Ireland against Italy last weekend. And some people are saying that this is the defining game in the championship, if you so wish. Ireland, Johnny Sexton is out. I'm not too sure. Well, obviously it's an injury situation, but I've seen a few games in the fridge have really targeted. But Joey Carbery comes in to the side with Jack Carty from Connacht coming into the replacements. So I think it's going to be, it's going to be a top-class game on Saturday. It's fixed for 4:45. There'll be some jumpy of channels watching all of these. But I do think that Ireland can get their 10th win in a row. They follow on from the good work in the Six Nations. Wales take on Scotland, and what a weekend it was for Scottish people last week. To come from behind to beat England, it must be some great feeling for Scots people. So Wales, no. Scotland go to Wales. So, you get an idea there. But this is a bit of a fluke by the Scots. And in the other game, our dear friends in England will get an opportunity to get their campaign up and running when they take on Italy. It was an interesting thing for one Irish guy who made his debut, this guy who plays with Scotland, Mac Hansen. And 50 years ago, his grandparents, John O'Shea and his wife Lily, and 8 children immigrated to Australia. And he comes back then, signs for Connacht, on the Irish team. But interesting, as I said, his grandfather John O'Shea played for Castlemartin in the 1951 Junior County final, and they're near neighbours of Kieran Joyce's grandparents, and it was a real quirk of coincidence, if you wish, that the 2 grandsons made their debuts, one for Cork Hurlers and one for Ireland on the same day. Yeah, the things that interest at the time. Anyway, it's Super Bowl time, and we're down to the last game of the season, and that takes place Sunday night at 11:30. Half the nation, I don't know, maybe that's an exaggeration, we'll be watching this. It's the Los Angeles Rams, they're the favourites to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. displayed in the SoFi Stadium, which is the home stadium of the Rams. The Rams have been in this is their fourth final. They've won victory, and their outstanding quarterback in this competition is so important, Matthew Stafford. So, but the Bengals, they've never won it. They've been in two finals and lost them. But I think it was 2 years ago they had the worst record in the league. They lost 14-1-2. And because of that, then they were allowed to pick the first player off the draft. And this fellow Joe Burrow joined them. And he's been inspirational for them. And it would be a real fairy tale story if they were to win that. But anyway, and like you want a bit of patience watching it as well. Like this thing takes place half the day. When you see the amount of people that are turning up at half time, like these are, they don't roll out somebody to sing a few songs or anything like that. You've Eminem and Mary J and Kendrick Lamar, as if I know anything about them. And there's huge amount of entertainment. What did somebody tell me? That they have to take a 30-second ad. Think about this now for one more. You know, they went to sell the country $70 million for a 30-second ad of this thing. But anyway, for those of you all American football fans, look, hope you've enjoyed it nice watching it. Our golf correspondent has been on us that the waste management, the big tournament this weekend on tour is the waste management, the Phoenix Open. And seemingly this is incredibly lunatic stuff. It's a serious competition. It's the small course per par, 3 holes, but they build stands for the occasion. And over the 4 days, they reckon there'll be 500,000 people watch it. And there's one of the holes, I think it's the 16th hole, it's about 162 yards, par 3. And by the time the golfers get here, they're watching it, a massive falling down, or probably have inebriated, shall we say, and the jeering and the booing, because like you're expected, like professional golfer, you know, a par 3 hole of this length nearly, there's been a few holes in one and they go light, whether it is the hole in one or whether the professional golfer makes a mistake. So yeah, you might look, if you come across it, keep an eye on this particular one. Our local golfer John Murphy, after making his PGA debut last week, he's now back on the real business of things, and that's in the Challenge Tour. And this particular tour, there's 30 events over 18 countries across 3 continents for the next couple of months. And at the end of it, there'll be 20 places on the tour, on the European tour, if you wish, and that's where he wants to get. So he's in South Africa this weekend, taking place in the Dimension Data Pro-Am. So we wish him well in his journey, and hopefully he's a successful one. So that's it, folks. Again, thanks for your kind attention. Until the next time, take care.